the process, it's the same thing. It's right now, I'm not suffering that badly with my diet, but when I get leaner and when I have abs and when I look good on the beach, quote unquote, I understand why most people don't get there, because the process of getting there is 99% of it. And then eventually you're like, oh wow, I have abs now. Then it's, okay, what do I have to do to keep them? Wait, I still can't have pizza?
It's just really smart. And I know you are saying, like, that sounds terrible, but he's going to be wealthy. And he, I think it's smart. It's just smart. So figure out where you are in that whole spectrum and figure out what you need. But yeah, if you want short-term pleasure constantly, your long-term goals will not happen, in my honest opinion.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1999. Getting there before we call it quits. One more episode and this whole show's done. It's Freestyle Friday. I was hoping, how cool would it be if Freestyle Friday, or if the 2000th episode fell on Freestyle Friday? That'd be pretty cool. But this is episode number 1999.
It's not the way the cookie crumbled.
That is not the way the cookie crumbled. And it is Freestyle Friday, so we're just going to jam out on something. We don't know what it is yet, whatever we're going through, whatever we're thinking of, whatever it may be.
Hey.
Yeah.
How hard do you think it is to achieve your goals and dreams?
That's what you want to talk about?
Kinda.
I think it's... Somebody asked me on a podcast the other day, they said, do you think you can succeed without struggle? And I said, my belief, this is my belief, that your struggle is directly connected to the size of your goals. So if you want to start a podcast, that's it. If your goal is to start a podcast, you're going to struggle less than somebody who wants to make it to 10 episodes. If you want to make it to 10 episodes, you're going to struggle less than somebody who wants to get to 100. And I kind of think about it that way. It's super hard. It's super hard. Because there's stuff you got to learn, there's stuff you got to unlearn, there's external stuff you got to practice, there's internal stuff that you got to practice. And one of those is going to be harder for you because you're not naturally designed for it. And that's probably the place that you're going to get stuck, / probably the place you don't want to work on. If you're really good at speaking, you're going to want to speak. But if you're really struggling with setting boundaries, you're going to say, well, I'll speak my way out of this. No, you won't. You're not going to speak your way out of this. You can speak your way somewhere, but yeah, that's why it's so hard. I don't necessarily think it's just hard because of the external stuff anymore. I think because when you get to an external level, your internal self has to catch up, and if it doesn't, you just end up miserable, and that's that creates its own set of problems.
So your idea is that the higher the goal is, the more the struggle?
I would say that is a fairly safe blanket statement for almost anything. I would say. You wanna lose 5 pounds. Cool. Love that for you. That's probably going to be easier than losing 25 pounds.
It's not probably going to be. It's definitely going to be.
Right? So that's my... Now, then the question becomes, well, if somebody weighs 150 pounds and they want to lose 5 pounds versus somebody who weighs 350 pounds who wants to lose 25 pounds, I mean, obviously you can get into the minutia of that.
Yeah, but the 350-pound person who wants to lose 5 pounds, that's easier than them losing 25, easier than them losing 50. But yeah, it gets confusing when you compare apples and oranges.
Yeah. Real quick, can I say something real quick?
Of course.
I'm fired up today on a...
Good.
We're recording at 10 a.m. I do feel like 10 a.m. is like a good time for me.
Nice.
I don't want to do it, though, anymore, ever again. But, if we have to, we will. And again, it's a privilege not to have to jump on camera before 11 a.m. I said this on a podcast the other day. I said, this is what my new bullshit radar is. If somebody comes to you and says, I have the exact solution for the exact problem you're going through and it works for everyone, I immediately start questioning things. Because how could you? You don't know me. You don't know my internal stuff. How could you? How could you possibly... Oh, you're going to teach me how to make 10 times more money? Do you know what kind of money blocks I have? Do you know what my experience with money has been in the past? Do you know where my self-worth is? Do you know where my skills are? Do you know what my competencies are? Do you know what my quote-unquote expertise is? No, we don't know any of that. You're just saying that. So that's something that I don't want to say is new, but if you come across somebody who says they have the exact answers, if they intentionally create a problem for you to focus on, and then say they have the exact answer to that problem, you're probably getting hoodwinked. Most likely. Not all the time, but that's I gotta cover my candle because it's burning my throat.
You got a candle on?
I had a little Girl Scouts candle going. Also, I know it's not good to burn, but it smells so freaking good. What's going on in your brain today? You feel very introspective today.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot of, there's so much going on in here. I've been thinking a lot about the statistics around goals and how few people hit them and how sad that makes me. But then again, maybe not everyone cares as much as I do about goals. I'm sure they don't.
Yeah.
I don't, and this is something we can talk about. I think I'm probably uncomfortable to talk about it, but I'll never forget. January 1st, we did a meetup. I think it was the 4th, but it was for January. It was like the beginning of the year. This is in 2024, so last year. And I researched, and again, I'm sure the stats change based on the study, based on the article. And they said that only 4% of people, so 4 out of every 100, have written goals. And of those 4%, only 8% of those people ever achieve them. And I found that really alarming and probably like, is that possible? You know, doesn't it seem like it would be more than that? Because when we're kids, we all want to get our own place and get in a relationship. We want to get a car. We want to have a job, a career. And we do all achieve a lot of those, right? Mm. I mean, what percentage of the population is married? So I actually don't know the answer. We could look it up. But the point is that I think we do achieve a lot of our goals. I just don't think we achieve the really high ones.
Well, how many of those goals are because of social pressure? That's always my thought is there has to be a graph somewhere in the world where the older you get, the harder it is to learn how to swim and the harder it is to learn how to ride a bike because, number one, you do it less. But when you're a kid, depending on what your experience is, you have a bike and you try to ride a bike. And your friends ride bikes. So if you don't ride bikes and you don't know how, you don't fit in. Your friends want to go to the water park, or you want to go to the lake or the pond or whatever, and you don't know how to swim, you don't fit in. So I think same thing. Like most people,
as an adult, if you do have a really high goal, you don't fit in. That's what you're talking about?
No. It's just
because when you started a podcast, you immediately don't fit in, right? Because the majority of your friends at the time are working their 9 to 5 or whatever it is. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with a 9 to 5 either. I understand why. I understand why at the beginning of an aspiring entrepreneurial journey, I understand why the 9 to 5 gets shit on. I do. Because it feels like it's an L. It feels like, okay, you go to a job, that quote, and I don't agree with this, I'm just saying it. You go to a job you hate to afford a home you can't afford to live in, you know, that whole thing. If the alternative was better, more people would take it. I'm not saying that being an entrepreneur is not better for some people. What I'm saying is, if you're out there watching or listening and you have a 9 to 5 that you even remotely enjoy, where you have benefits and a steady pay, like, that's great. And you can grow your career that way. I remember when I was in corporate, I didn't like it, but I also appreciated it. It was really something. And I think in some ways I do actually think I was destined to be an entrepreneur. So It all depends on the type of person. I think you have to design your life based on the type of person you actually are, not the type of person you wish you were. I think for the longest time, I wished I could be normal. And that was never going to fucking work for me, man.
I think people get shamed into being entrepreneurs. It's like, oh, you're working so hard to make somebody else rich. It's like, yeah, no, that's fair. A lot of people are doing that, but I think the certainty and the security and the safety net of that is better for most people than, okay, cool, you're essentially working to make sure that you don't lose everything.
When you're also not working to make someone else rich. You can work to make yourself rich.
Well, I know, but
you
just
can
that
have
quote.
a 401k. You can invest.
Just
I
the quote,
know. But I think that quote's bullshit too.
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can easily get wealthy in corporate if you do it right.
Yeah,
and again, that's some financial stuff.
What do you think from your perspective, what are the 3 biggest reasons people don't accomplish their goals?
I think social pressure's big. The moment you set a really big goal, you're pretty much the things that are required of you to go and achieve that automatically take you away from most normal things. So that's number one number one would be self-belief, because you won't set a high goal that you actually intend on unless you have self-belief. So number one is definitely self-belief. How much do you believe in yourself? That is always going to be number one. And then number 2 is, I think, the influences you have in your life. I call it a 5-pointed star. One of my clients, she has the most powerful 5-pointed star I've ever seen. She has Kevin in her corner. She has Emilia in her corner. She has me in her corner. And again, I know I'm in that, so it's like, you pretentious asshole. But the truth of the matter is that there's nothing she can come to us and say, hey, I'm going to go do this thing, where we're not going to be like, absolutely, here's how you do it. Let's rock and roll. Let's do it. Let's go. Absolutely. 100%. You want to lose 20 pounds? What do you want to do? You want to do a fitness competition? Whatever it is. We're going to support anything she wants to fucking do. And she has no other friends. And if she's listening, which she might be, by the way, I'm sorry that you have no other friends. But the truth is, that's what it takes to do what you're doing. And this person is going to be very wealthy, going to be very successful, statistically speaking. She already is doing very, very well. But she goes and spends time with people, and she feels alone because they're all talking about shit she has no interest in. And not only does she have no interest in, she actually has to not think about those things. She kind of runs her own life, and her goals are so fucking high that whenever she goes to dinner with her family or her friends, they're all talking about what's happening on this TV show or that, or this in sports. And she's just like, oh, you guys like really hang out a lot. And all she does is grind. Not all, but most of the time. And the truth is, she will have an enviable life, but behind the scenes, she's also very lonely. And she also dated this guy, and he was at some golf tournament, and she wouldn't mind me sharing this. It's anonymous anyway. But like, she's having trouble talking to this guy because he's just such a fucking normal guy. And she's like, well, what do you think about this and this? It's like, honestly, it's not going to work because there's nothing in alignment, you know? Yeah, you could make it work, but you're already out. I can tell. You're out. You're not interested. And so she sent a respectful message. Hey, it's been real. I appreciate you. They only went on a date or something like that. They were just talking for a little while. But the first thing is self-belief. The second thing is just massive social loneliness. Like, you and I weren't lonely because we had each other.
Yeah.
We hung out all the time, man. We lifted together. We had goals in common. We both were bodybuilders. We both lifted weights almost every fucking day. We both were podcasters. And then we went and interviewed people who were also dream chasers. So we found a way to not be lonely. And then we were both in, relationships that maybe weren't great for us, but kept us not lonely. So I think number 2 is just massive loneliness. And then what's the third reason people don't achieve their dreams? So the first one's self-belief. Second one is the wrong influences. The third one would be you're not willing to sacrifice the now for something greater later, which is, it's a short-term time perspective. So mathematically speaking, you can, anyone out there watching or listening could start building wealth, and you could invest money every month, and you could be a millionaire in 40 years, mathematically speaking. There's very few people that couldn't do that if they wanted, mathematically. And again, I know how pretentious that can sound, but like mathematically that's accurate. But very few people are actually going to do that, because you have to sacrifice a lot of monthly things that okay, if you get rid of Netflix, but who wants to get rid of Netflix?
Not me.
Yeah, exactly. I have
Not
Netflix.
me.
So that's kind of the other thing. Is the third one is basically you think short term, which almost guarantees that you don't make long-term investments that actually pay off long term. And I always use the example of someone I coached in the past. She never made more than $20 an hour up until the point that I spent time with her. And she'll be a multimillionaire, mathematically speaking. She's almost there already. And it's just the power of compounding over time with investments. And if you were to look at all the millionaires, I think there's 60 million millionaires or something globally right now. And if you look at them, like all of them are investors. Almost all of them. Obviously there's some rappers and stuff like that, but like the majority of them have invested money. I would say at least 80% of them have invested money to build that wealth. You're not going to like earn your way to wealth. And I think that's a big misconception. You can earn your way to wealth. Like Jennifer Lawrence, for example, right? One of the highest paid actresses in history. She's a multimillionaire from earning it through actual income. But that's the minority of the minority of the minority of the minority. I was on with a actress yesterday who's far older than that, who's been trying to be an A-lister her whole life. And, you know, I asked her, I said, how many people are going for A-list level revenue in acting versus how many people act? And it's the 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of 1%, right? But so number one is self-belief. Number two is your influences dictate so much. And number three is if you think short term, you're never going to stumble upon wealth. But you can invest your way to wealth. You really can.
I think the first thing is lack of clarity. Lack of self-awareness. Because naturally, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us set goals that aren't right for us. So it would actually be doing us harm to accomplish them.
Yeah, it's fire.
There's something Brandon wouldn't mind me sharing this, and Brandon's on the team. Brandon's the man. Also, the kids run a mile every day for like 3 years straight. He won't tell a fucking soul about it. Brandon, if you're listening, you are listening. Strong work, brother.
Sicko, brother. Love it. Absolutely.
Strong work. Him and I had a conversation one time, and he said, I have a podcast, and I want to be like way more successful than you guys. I was like, cool, man. I love that goal for you. I don't know I can get you to where we've gotten, but I don't know necessarily how to take you beyond that yet because I haven't done it. And then I was like, well, let's get clear on what you value as a human. You're going to have kids, right? You want to have a family? Yeah, man, for sure. You want to be at their sporting events, and you want to be at their parent-teacher conferences and their recitals, and you want to be home for dinner every night? He's like, dude, for sure. Those are 10 out of 10 important. I said, brother, you don't want this. You can be fucking miserable. I worked till 9 o'clock last night.
At the time, he said he wanted to be Gary Vee, right?
Yeah, but bigger.
And Brandon, but bigger.
But bigger.
Yeah. Brandon wouldn't mind us sharing this. Brandon, shout out to you, brother. He listens to NLU every day. You're the absolute man. But at the end of the day, I think that's a phase. We all go through a phase.
It's just not right. Yeah, don't dedicate your life to a phase. Because you're gonna regret that.
100%.
And I said this on a podcast the other day. I said, as I've grown and learned more as a coach, yes, a coach's job is to help you accomplish your goals. Yep, 100%. A great coach's job is to help you figure out whether or not the goals are aligned in the first place.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if they're not aligned and they help you accomplish the goals, you both fucked up. Kind of. You just dedicated your life or 5 years or 10 years to something that you actually didn't want and wasn't right for you.
You know that actress that she's in Divergent? You talked about her.
Shailene Woodley.
You know she's been acting? I kid you not. She's been acting for 28 years.
How old is she?
20. That's what I'm saying. She started when she was like 5.
Is she younger than us?
Dude, she's been acting for 28 years, and she's younger than us. But And she's one of the most successful actresses in history. But I bet you that only started in the last maybe 8 years. We didn't know her name 8 years ago. No chance.
The first time I ever heard of her, and again, I'm not like a super
I think
big movie
Divergent
buff.
was the first one for me.
The Fault in Our Stars, I believe, was the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time I ever heard of her, but I don't know when that came out.
But I remember when I heard that, I was like, that's so powerful. You've been acting since you were like 6 or 5 or something.
Ryan Gosling and Justin Timberlake and somebody else, they were in like the Mickey Mouse Club when they were like 5. I mean,
Yep.
they've been doing this for a long
It's really
long
important
time.
to share that stuff. It's really important. I mean, we're only 8 years in
Yeah.
to podcasting. And the majority of our listeners out there watching or listening, it comes later. It's not... There are some people... I had someone reach out to me today. I'll actually anonymously share this. I think this is really powerful. This was a very respectful message. Hey, man, would I be able to share something I'm struggling with and get your insight on this situation? I want to be respectful of the fact that you have clients who pay you for this. So if not, I totally understand. That meant the world to me. That's
Shout
not
out.
an entitled ask.
Yeah,
Right?
shout out to you, whoever you are.
I just don't know who else to come to, and I trust your opinion. I said, of course, brother, what's going on? And thank you for that respect. I appreciate it. But you had someone reach out to you recently who was from our past as well. It's like, we're 8 years in. And I remember telling you this, the very first personal development, self-improvement that I was exposed to that really struck me in a new way was Tony Robbins' TED Talk. And in that TED Talk, what was he, 49 or something? And by the way, I didn't see that TED Talk until 5 years after it was done. So you and I didn't even... 8 years ago, 10 years ago for me. So let's actually look this up real quick because I think this is really powerful. NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes. How old's Tony now? I think he's 65. I found Tony Robbins, quote unquote, found his work 10 years ago. So I didn't even know that man existed, except for Shallow Hal, which I saw when I was a kid.
Yeah, but you didn't know.
No, I didn't know. So I didn't even know Tony Robbins existed until he was 55 years old. So he was 55 when I first found his work. I think that that's the most misunderstood thing about goals. Most of the goals that we set, the dreams that we set, takes way longer than anyone realizes to actually achieve them without massive, messy action or whatever we were talking about yesterday. Now, I actually think you do need to take massive, messy action, especially if you want like really, really, really high goals. But I think that's very misunderstood. And I think self-awareness is where I try to start now with my coaching. Let me be as clear as possible. What we do in my coaching is we set up the goals, we set up the priorities, the metrics, the habits, and the skills. And then once those are in alignment, my client goes and tries to do it. And then they come back and go, perfect. Now it's identity. Now let's go, why? Why isn't it happening? Because once you have the goals, metrics, and again, this is going to sound, my skill set, the one thing that I'm really good at is I can reverse engineer the goal. Goals, priorities, metrics, habits, skills, and identity. That's what I've got it broken down to. Once you have the first, what is it? Goals, priorities, metrics, habits, skills. Once you have the first 5 in alignment, you're going to realize you don't do it. Once you tell me your goal, I'll give you the exact runway, and then you won't do it. Why? Because it's not aligned with who you are.
Yeah.
Right? Or you'll do it, and then it'll be like, well, how long do I have to do this? Forever. Right? Or 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So I think that there's awareness issues around self-awareness of, do you actually want to be like that? Are you actually like that? Are you actually wired that way? Because there are people in Kevin and I's life in the past that wanted to be entrepreneurs because it sounds fun and sounds sexy that now you and I would never suggest that.
No.
Yeah.
Because
and then there's other people that it's like, listen, you have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, Emilia, you have to be. Like, you just have to. And you're never going to be fulfilled otherwise. You should be, go ahead.
I think it's so hard because you're always essentially in pursuit. I understand why it's so hard to accomplish goals, because even the client you used at the beginning of this episode, they work all day and they do deeply meaningful work.
6 days a week.
Right? They work all day. They're lonely as shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're struggling with their family.
Definitely.
Sounds terrible. It sounds...
Yeah.
Now, they're fulfilled.
Gorgeous. In great shape.
Sure.
Lots of wealth being built.
Sure.
Tons of credibility. Definitely a high-value woman.
But the process, it's the same thing. It's right now, I'm not suffering that badly with my diet, but when I get leaner and when I have abs and when I look good on the beach, quote unquote, I'm not going to be on the beach, but when I look good on the beach, quote unquote, I understand why most people don't get there, because the process of getting there is 99% of it. And then eventually you're like, oh, wow, I have abs now. Then it's, okay, what do I have to do to keep them? Wait, I still can't have pizza? Nope. Actually, now you can have pizza less than before, kind of. Now, it's a little bit different. Obviously, it's different with wealth, because if you're accumulating it, it's different. But I understand. It's like, how long do I have to delay results?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes it so hard. The bigger your goals are, I think the longer you have to delay results. And I understand why that sucks, because I think...
Kev, I came across this photo.
Imagine
days.
Imagine if I dropped dead today. You know how fucking sad I would be? That I did all the work and got none of the results from 50 years from today?
Well, and again, I'm not laughing about that mortality again, Kev. You're playful with mortality.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to... This is in my fitness modeling days. I look like my life is great. 6-pack. I'm showing it to the camera for those of you on YouTube. Like, ripped.
For sure.
And that's just me. I remember that morning. I mean, that's just a morning for me at the time. And I was in prep. And I saw that photo. I was like, oh, God. And it's like, honestly, I don't know if I'm willing to do what's necessary to get back there and to have that be my normal. I remember fitness was a full-time job. Fitness modeling, fitness coaching, fitness competitions. My whole world was fitness. So back to what you just said about, how upset I would be. This is the weird duality that I think is of value. I remember there was someone in my life who I was actually kind of offended at the time when they said this to me. And they said, well, I really hope you don't get hit by a bus. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, well, because all this work you're doing is for way in the future. And I remember thinking, and this was after my car accident, this is after I reevaluated my life, this is when I was most aligned. I was the most fulfilled I had ever been up to that point. I think I was like 28, 27. She's like, wow, I really hope you don't get hit by a bus, because you used to have all this fun and now all you do is work. And I know what she was trying to do. She was trying to, I think in some ways trying to bully me into being more fun again. That's my truth. But I remember saying, honestly, the truth is, from my perspective, again, that would have been sad before. I'm fulfilled as fuck now. I'm living my best life. This is what I want to do. So I understand that you and I are in different spots with that. But dude, I would regret living any other way. That's how I know this is the path for me.
Same.
Yeah.
But I would be very upset if I got hit by a bus.
Well, I think I would be too. But
I'd be super pissed.
Yeah. Shit.
Could have waited like 30 years.
Probably should have looked both ways, I'm kidding.
Could have waited.
But that's the paradoxical question, everybody, is how do you integrate the now and the day-to-day life that you want with your goals? And that's very difficult. Person 1, person 2, person 3. Person 1 sacrifices everything in the present to get to their long-term goals. Person 2 doesn't have any long-term goals, so they get to do whatever the fuck they want in the present, but they probably are a little ashamed of it because they're not reaching any goals. Okay? Person 3 integrates the day-to-day life that they want with some long-term goals that are aligned with that day-to-day life. Person 3 is the one that Kevin and I are suggesting here.
Yeah, for sure.
And because I think that I actually am the type of person who is person 1 and wants to be person 1. Like there's a couple things I'm not willing to give up, an hour of R&R with Emilia, all that kind of stuff, but there's very little. I care about goals more than I care about day-to-day process. Facts. That's just the way I'm wired. I think you're the opposite.
I am. I like there's a piece, so we have an opportunity to get a really big client, the biggest client in NLU history. And there's a little piece of me that wants to say, like, dude, let me have a little celebration. Like, give me something. Just give me a little something. Give me a little treat of some sort. Because I want to
come get my TV.
I want to reinforce and be rewarded in the short term for all the hard work I'm doing. Like, there is a little piece of me that I don't know if that'll ever go away. Nor do I know if it should. I mean, that's what
signed
8 by 10.
Yeah.
No, 5 by 9. Make it an 8 by 10.
Dude, I don't know.
Minimum.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have, and again, I have a nice car, and I'm not saying I'm needy of much. I'm very blessed and very grateful and very privileged, and I've worked really hard to have a good life.
Probably should do something.
I think I should, but I was scared that you tell me to fuck off.
No. You make me sound really bad.
No,
not good.
Not that.
Okay, I would definitely. I've never once done that.
You have. Not that.
I've never told.
we were in California on the Pacific Coast Highway, and I was like, dude, what we should do is go get a really nice dinner tonight to lock this in. And you're like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
I said that playfully.
Let's eat from this sketchy taco truck on the side of the road.
Which you loved. That was
good.
fire.
Yeah.
That was great.
And again, no, Alan, no. I don't really mean that. But there was a little piece of me that's like, I know that's not the way you think. I know you get it because you and I have had enough conversations.
Yeah.
And
I think you should do something.
I'm not going to go
to
on
dinner or something for sure.
Something.
But it needs to be in proportion to the accomplishment.
Yeah, I'm
thinking you can't get a new client and then get a new car.
I'm thinking just 2 new cars. I'm not asking for much.
I was thinking an 83-inch, 2 new cars, and a giraffe.
Well, that's always
deal.
Next on the list.
Little celebration.
But I think that's an important piece too. Is I think self-awareness is the start, because if I would resent. Okay, you got a call in a couple minutes, so I want to make sure I get you off here on time. We are going to record I spit all over my laptop. My apologies, laptop. We're going to record our 2000th episode tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dieting. Mm-hmm. Big UFC on. The day 2000 drops is on a Saturday. Big UFC on. Taryn already said, do you want me to get a cake? It's like, I don't know. No, I don't really know. I'm dieting. Do I let it ride for one day because I'm not prepping for a fucking bodybuilding show? I'm just dieting because I want to?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know.
What do you want to do?
Don't know yet.
But see, this is the philosophical discussion of the only reason we're getting the big client and hitting the 2000 episodes is because of the work we're putting in. So you can't step off the gas, but you can celebrate.
That's the thing is how many times have I celebrated before? Is my discipline increasing and I'm losing sight of how much I enjoy celebration? Do I require less celebration than I once did? I think it's a mixture of all those things.
On my birthday, Emilia asked me, she said, what do you want to do for your birthday? I said, I will want to get a bunch of food and watch a movie. And we watched, I told you about this. This was not 36. I think this was 35.
All the Lord of the Rings?
All the Hobbit movies.
Oh, Hobbit movies.
Extended editions. 4 hours each, right? 12-hour day. So 3 times 4, 12, 12-hour day. And she fell asleep. We have an 83-inch. I'm very grateful. Awesome. It's
about
amazing.
to be mine, people.
Yeah, it's about to be Kev's. We'll see. No, seriously, I think it will be. But the beginning was awesome, and the idea is awesome. But then my eyes are twitching.
Well, see, that's
11
not
o'clock
it for
at
me.
night. No, I know it's not. I'm just saying.
I know.
The celebration, I think the anticipation of the celebration is part of it. You have to have something to look forward to.
Yes.
I think it's really important. I think you should design that into your life.
I think that's what I'm feeling is there's the happiness and joy and success and feeling the accomplishment is one thing.
Nice.
But for me, I like to emotionalize it with something.
Yeah.
You know.
So what do you want? Whatever you want.
Whatever I want.
Not whatever you
You
want.
heard that? Hell yeah.
You heard it.
You'll see my giraffe. You'll see George the giraffe on my Instagram. Make sure you're
Kev riding
following
a giraffe.
me there. I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. It might be. I mean, I think Saturday is a good example. I might get Domino's and watch the fights. I'll watch 7 hours of fights on Saturday. It'll be awesome. I won't regret that even a little bit.
Nice.
Right? I won't regret that even a little bit. But that's the frame I want to go in with is, will I regret this tomorrow?
Last thing. This is the know thyself. That's what this is.
Temet Nosuke.
This is Kev knowing. See, there's a big difference between I want to do this diet so that I can eat a bunch at the end versus I'm going to do this to hit my goals, to have a meaningful life and to grow and contribute. And I want to Mario Kart boost this with a little celebration. That there's a big difference in mentality there. Maybe that's another episode, but if Kevin's goal was to celebrate every time we hit a milestone, we would go broke. Because the sacrifice, we opened this episode with the higher your goal, the higher the struggle, right? If you don't learn how to embrace the struggle and enjoy the struggle and have the struggle be a meaningful pursuit, not only are you not going to get the goal, but you're going to, it's almost like if Kev was the type of person who wanted to celebrate every little victory, you automatically wouldn't build toward the actual ultimate goal. But there is a way to throw that Mario Kart booster in there for sure. And in the past, I think that I didn't understand to the extent that I do now, because I don't want to pretend I didn't understand anything, obviously. But I do get that we're all wired a different way. Some people really do need more carrots along the way, for lack of better phrasing. There's certain things I need, but it's not much. I always used to say, if you learn to need nothing, you'll have everything. What I meant is when you need nothing, you can create whatever you want because you can keep expenses low and you can suffer and all that kind of stuff. And I grew up without cable, dude. Like, we didn't have much. I was broke as a joke in high school and in college, and all I did was fucking grind and partied a lot. Okay,
that's
partied a lot.
That's grinding.
But well, it wasn't. But but I remember for college, for example, there was very little reward. I mean, it was all just pure suffering. Computer engineering was fucking terrible, and I was broke as hell. I had to go to New Hampshire to get, and I was it was just terrible. But at the end, all of a sudden, you make all this money. And you're in corporate, and all of a sudden now it's like 65, 85, 105, 125, all the way to 180, and all of a sudden you have all this money now. For me, it felt like overnight. It wasn't overnight. It was obviously an accumulation, but I remember when I had money, I still had a $5,000 car. I still had a $500 rent apartment. I lived on a lake with my girlfriend Courtney at the time, and I just invested it all because I don't need much. When you learn not to need much, you really do have an advantage. Seriously. I have a client right now who, shout out to you, I know you're listening. He's a multi-millionaire, and he's about to buy another business, and he drives a 2007. It's just really smart. And I know you are saying, like, that sounds terrible, but he's going to be wealthy. And he, I think it's smart. It's just smart. So figure out where you are on that whole spectrum and figure out what you need. But yeah, if you want short-term pleasure constantly, your long-term goals will not happen, in my honest opinion.
I think my next level lesson for this is you got to know yourself. And there is no such thing as, you don't ever know yourself. You know yourself more, but you're changing and you're evolving, and your awareness of yourself is changing and evolving. I require far less celebration than I used to. But in a way, now the celebrations I have are far more meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's less, but it means more.
Yeah.
And there's something to that. When I say celebration, I'm literally saying, like, I want to buy like $100 speaker. Like, I need a new sound bar. Like, I'm literally saying that. Not, what it used to be is like something. It would probably be something crazy. I want to spend thousands of dollars. No. How much is a new fucking sound bar? $100, $150? Like that's what I'm talking about. But that has changed over time. That's far more for me about the utility of when I do R&R and when I do watch UFC, I want to make it as positive of an experience as possible because there is far less fun than there used to be in terms of like external. I mean, this is fun, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not as fun and frolicky as life used to be, but that's,
Yeah.
I want the stuff that matters. Like, I don't want to have to skimp. If I want pre-workout, I want to buy pre-workout.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that's directly connected to the gym, which is connected to my self-esteem through fitness.
Maybe
right?
we
So-
do another episode on this, but this is what it is to grow up. This is what it is to grow up. I think about that all the time. Your
Yeah.
life's not about you like it used to be. We have a 17-person team, potentially one more person. And I think about this all the time. It's like, dude, it doesn't really matter what you want.
It's
kind
fair.
of.
Yeah, no,
Like,
it's
yeah,
fair.
it's great. Imagine having a 17. That's a dream. That's a dream come true. And every day, it doesn't matter if you want to get on the call.
Yeah.
If you have payroll, you have no choice. Like, show the fuck up. Let's go. That's why when you have children, and I don't yet, but I think that it changes. Even just having pets, it's not about me. This family requires me to be a man. I can't like fuck off like I used to. You know what I mean? I think there's something to that, and I think we can talk about. You and the boys are gone, dude. I mean, it's over, right?
I still got a little boy in me, man. I'm still
Yeah.
a bro in there somewhere.
Same, and I think that there's a balance between
Yes,
play and like you got to keep the magic. I'm with you, but let's be real. I mean, as a business owner, Kevin can't just like, oh, got a new client. Let me, you need that money to reinvest in the
Let me
company.
ball out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to the casino.
And I think that's the paradox, right? Just because Kev can buy a new car when this client comes in doesn't mean he should. And if he was the type of person who bought a new car every time he had a W, he wouldn't have gotten the client,
100%.
right? Because that client would know you're irresponsible.
There's a saying that I heard. It was something along the lines of the person who enjoys walking will get a lot further than the person who is just walking to a destination. It's like,
Nice.
Interesting.
My next level lesson is check in with self-belief, check in with your influences, and check in with time perspective. And thank you for listening. This has been awesome.
This has been awesome. We're gonna try to come up with something special for tomorrow's episode. We don't know what we're gonna do yet, so we're gonna have 2,000. It's the biggest milestone we've ever had. And now we're gonna celebrate in thousands. I don't think about hundreds anymore. I don't know if we'll think about 500s. I mean, yeah, it's cool. It's awesome. Very grateful. 3,000, I think, is the next milestone.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to 2,000 first, because that's actually going to be the end of the show. Very last episode tomorrow. Tune in. We're giving away everything. Camera, shipping the camera, the MacBook, whatever you want. Anything you've ever seen on camera, it's yours. Just kidding.
And
Obviously.
you can win this pink shaker cup.
And a signed 8x10 by Alan Lazaros. Whoa. That's going to be worth something someday. Hang on to that. All right. NextLevelUniverse.com has all the stuff. The Dreamliner, Next Level Live 2025, Alan's coaching, all the stuff that we have is there. So make sure you check out the website. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. At NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it next level. Next Level Nation.